Republicans, they are rallying around Donald Trump, who took the Fifth Amendment and refused to answer questions when deposed yesterday. Now, the deposition by New York Attorney General Letitia James was all about his business dealings. A major issue is whether he manipulated real estate values to get better tax treatment.
But Trump supporters say the deposition, combined with the search warrant executed at Trump's Mar-a-Lago home Monday, show the Democrats are just trying to get him. So joining us to talk through the issues is David Cay Johnston.
Yeah, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner for his reporting at the New York Times. He specializes in tax and economic issues, and he now lectures at Syracuse Law School. His reporting has really angered former President Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's behavior has angered him. So, David, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, David, you've called Donald Trump a crime boss in your reporting about his presidential pardons. You obtained, you published a portion of Donald Trump's 2005 tax return with his now taking the fifth. What's your sense of what he may be keeping from the Attorney General?
Well, it's very clear that Donald Trump was served with a search warrant authorized as required by the Constitution by a magistrate. It specified what they were looking for, and they left a receipt of what they took. Now, Donald Trump is absolutely free to disclose those, but he hasn't and says he will not do so. And I suspect that's because the contents of the search warrant and the affidavit for the search warrant, which will eventually be public, it's sealed right now, would be very damning to him. Certainly, Christopher Wray, the FBI director appointed by Donald Trump and still in office, did not approve the execution of a search warrant on his Mar-a-Lago home over some mundane, low-level classified material.
Okay.
There must be something important that they felt they had to get back. And by the way, this was not a raid. They essentially made an appointment. The FBI agent showed up in suits, not the jackets they wear.
Yeah.
Trump's lawyers were there for the execution of the search warrant. Search warrant executions like this go on every single day in New York City and the rest of the country.
Yeah, every single day, but it's just not involving a former president. So, if the Attorney General, though, can prove that the former president, real estate values were manipulated, like you're talking about, for the purpose of cheating on taxes, the big question becomes, what might the civil penalties actually be?
Okay, so now we're shifting to the civil state court matter from the federal matter. The state of New York has the authority to shut down the Trump Organization. You and I, as natural persons, have a right to live. Corporations are creatures of the state, and they exist at the grace of the government. The Attorney General's office previously was successful in shutting down Trump's fraudulent Trump University and his self-dealing and corrupt Trump Foundation. Both of those were put out of business by the Attorney General. And that's one of the likely outcomes in this case. The other is some significant financial settlement with the state of New York.
Well, this is possibly going to drag on for quite a while, wouldn't you say? I mean, possibly into the next presidential election. So do you think that this is going to hurt his chances of running again?
Well, Hazel, Donald's basic tactic in the 34 years that I've known him and covered him is delay, delay, delay anything by law enforcement. Attack law enforcement. Law enforcement's never legitimate when it's coming after you, and then delay. So assuming Donald runs, and I think he is definitely running, delaying will help him stir up his base, but I don't think it will help him with people who are not thoroughly convinced that he is the only person who should hold the office of president.
So people on the fence.
Let's talk about what played out yesterday, too, because Donald Trump has blasted people for pleading the fifth in the past. He's done so very publicly at rallies. But strategically, isn't that something that some might say is the smart thing to do, specifically in Donald Trump's case, because there's a potential criminal case against him from the Manhattan DA that's playing out at the same time?
Yeah, any lawyer would have advised Donald Trump to take the fifth. The only negative for him by doing that is that in a civil trial, if there is one, a jury can be instructed to draw a negative inference from his asserting his right not to self-incriminate. That doesn't apply in criminal trials. You can't do that. But in a civil trial, the jury can be told he wouldn't answer questions. You can take an adverse view of that. So I think it was entirely predictable. Donald also has a long history of lying under oath, making claims that are absurd under oath, and a very good examiner, lawyer questioning him. who gets under his skin can get him to say all sorts of crazy things. So I'm not at all surprised that he took the Fifth Amendment.
He once said at his own rally. He once said at his own rally that people who plead the Fifth are hiding something and are probably guilty. Those were his own words that he said at a rally once.
Yeah. Well, Donald creates his own reality, and he says in the moment whatever is convenient. You know, he makes wild claims. He claims to be one of the greatest expert in all history on taxes, but he also has testified under oath he doesn't know anything about accounting. As a tax expert, I will tell you, you cannot know taxes without knowing accounting, and it's just typical of the claims he makes that are utterly nonsense, and they would get him in trouble had he answered questions from the state attorney general.
Yeah, well, former President Trump has also had a long history of being sued, right? Including his lawsuit over Trump University. He's been sued hundreds of times. So do you think he really cares about all of these civil lawsuits?
On a personal level, they're an annoyance, and he often sues. There are more than 4,500 lawsuits in the public record, either by Donald or against him. The ones against him are for things like refusal to pay, investors being cheated out of their money, things like that. He has, so long as his liberty is not at issue, he doesn't have a great deal to worry about. He can buy his way out of things, but he could face significant financial penalties here. I mean, he claims that his golf course in Westchester County, which covers over 100 acres and has a 100-foot-high waterfall and a clubhouse larger than 1 acre, is worth roughly the value of 1.5 homes on the fairway. That exposes him to some significant liability for taxes.
Yeah. You know, and politically speaking, because you're talking about him potentially running again, does what played out this week, the search warrant, right, the deposition, strengthen Donald Trump's case by letting him position it as Democrats trying to go after him? Is that going to be the play here?
Well, I think that strengthens him with his base. He's trying to enrage his base. He calls this a raid. It was an incredibly polite and ordinary execution of a search warrant. So his base will be very riled up about this. The question is, what about people who could go one way or the other? Is he winning them over, or is he pushing them further away? Do people want more drama or not?
No, we shall see what will happen. David Cay Johnston, thanks again for being with us here this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Hazel and Dan.